Here's your dollar chart on Bitcoin. And again, I put in this longer channel. I'm just kind of curiously watching it to see. Longer upsloping channels do eventually break to the downside. But again, it was just something I was taking a look at there that we do want to keep an eye on as well. Now, short term, couple things to look at on Bitcoin here. So short term, we have taken out the FTX high. All right, now, again, whether or not we've confirmed, it doesn't really look like we've confirmed here, but we are consolidating a beginnings of a potentially bullish consolidation chart pattern. All right, so when you have sideways candles, that means a recent move is being digested. Think about, you just went to the buffet, you had a huge meal, you go back, you sit in front of the TV, you digest your food. You're not going to go run a marathon as soon as you eat the buffet, right? You're going to get cramps, you're going to feel disgusting, you're going to throw up. So the same kind of principles here apply to charts. And again, remember, charts are nothing more than representations of humans, right? It's millions of buyers and millions of sellers coming together with their emotional kind of mentality, and they're buying and selling. That's how charts are created. So essentially, you can really relate charting to basic things in the human world. Okay, so again, big buffet eaten. Now it's slowly digesting. I don't personally think it's digested enough, but it's starting to get digested. If we continue up, your upside is going to be 25,000. Now, 25,000 is a big level, not just for this pivot, but if we extend this line out, it also goes to that low right here, which was this last big drop low. So that to me is a big resistance. It's even bigger than where we currently are, which is at this pivot high, because it has a secondary pivot low here to kind of reinforce the nature of this resistance. So if we do go up, 25,000 to me would be an epically big level. If that continues, I think 25,000 at 25,000 for me personally, I will probably start inching in on a short position. Okay, next up, let's take a look at a couple other things here. So that's your short term on this. In the longer term, a couple things you want to just keep an eye on. Looking at supports, let's look at supports. So what if Bitcoin starts to roll over? This is a big trend line here, folks. Notice pivot to pivot to pivot all the way through here. So this little upsloping trend line would be a big one. And then if we do finally break that, which I do anticipate at some point, then this low pivot would be here. So short term, your upside is to 25 potentially. If we start to decline and we start getting below this area, you start watching for this upsloping trend line. This is the S&P 500. Right now, we are seeing the spiders up about 57 cents on the day. A little bit of an uptick following Friday's big move. Now, the biggest thing to note is that on Friday, we had this consistent kind of grind higher all day long. And the biggest thing to know about this, folks, is that we need to know if this was a real move on Friday or it was an options expiration move. And the difference is really important because a real move means there's real buyers and sellers. A more manipulated move means that the institutions going into options X wanted to raise the S&P, raise stock prices so that certain options that had a lot of puts on them would expire worthless. And these are the games that get played in the overall market. And this happens with crypto. This happens with commodities. You'll see on options expiration Fridays a lot of this maneuvering. So what I'm looking for today is, does the market hold its gains from Friday? Do we build on those gains? All right. And again, that'll be determining whether or not this was a real move or it was just a flip up on Friday to negate the puts that were in the money, that were put in the money on basically Wednesday and Thursday's drop. Now, if we look at this chart, right, I have a bunch of trend lines here. I want you guys to only really focus on these trend lines. All right. So I'm going to get rid of everything but this. This is called a wedge pattern. And a wedge pattern essentially is telling us that the market is consolidating in a tighter and tighter range. And ultimately, it's going to break out. It's going to be forced to break out when it gets to a head over here. All right. So the question is, do we break up to the upside or do we break to the downside? And I'm going to tell you right now, there's no easy answer here. All right. Markets in the near term can try to lure in more bulls by short-term breaking above, kind of getting above this level for a very short amount of time. The bigger question I'll be looking for is, does it confirm? Does it confirm the breakout? And again, if you know the confirmation signal from the Winning Trader series, that's really what we're talking about here. If it breaks to the downside, which I believe eventually we will do, that's where you start a bigger decline, where eventually you retest the lows from October, and eventually head to my first target of 2023, which is 338 and change on the SPY. That equates to about 3,400 on the S&P 500.
If you are new to the channel and not subscribed, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any videos.